So recently TikTok was horrified when Alix Earle, TikTok's it girl, Malibu Barbie, influencer extraordinaire, reveals to us, she did this herself, that in her closet was hanging a dress that last year she puked on and hung it in her closet and then forgot about it until now.
And I meant to get it dry cleaned, but I didn't, so it's just been sitting in my closet.
Up against your other clothes?
And it really smells. Smell it.
Ew.
It literally makes me speechless. What? Now, aside from how absolutely disgusting and unhygienic that is, it got me thinking. It made me wonder, have influencers completely lost the plot? Do they even know what relatability is anymore? I don't think they do. Because hanging up a puked on dress and then leaving it for a year, and by the way, it smelled bad.
Smell it.
Ew.
Oh my God. Like, that's definitely not a relatable experience. Anybody else? I don't relate to that because it got me thinking. I came here to YouTube to give what I'm kind of calling a structured ramble. I've written down some of my thoughts, but also you're going to get a little stream of consciousness because, to be honest, this whole puke dress situation has left me baffled. I can't stop thinking about it. Guys, I have had nightmares about that puked on dress. I don't understand, number one, how it happened. Disgusting. Number two, she revealed that to the world herself. She was not embarrassed. Those are two things we're not even going to get into. But number three, why did Miss Earle think that this was relatable? This is what I think influencers and some celebrities get wrong about relatability. I don't actually think that's what we're looking for, at least not anymore. We have moved past the era of perfectly curated Instagram feeds, perfectly posed and edited influencers with their perfect little blonde children. And no matter how much TikTok Shop has turned the app into a never-ending stream of infomercials, I think we're moving past listening to perfect influencers selling us things with every single post. And I do think that there are a lot of reasons for this. I think it's very complex. And I think it's worth mentioning that we're moving past because of skyrocketing cost of living and the rampant consumerism that social media has turned into as a one big ol' infomercial. But today I specifically want to talk about something a little bit more amorphous, a little bit more undefined, which is the vibes. To put it simply, the vibes. I don't think that there is anything wrong with watching content that is centered around products. I love that. I'm just a girl. Of course I'm gonna love a get ready with me, a skincare routine, a makeup tutorial. I love that. There is nothing wrong with that. But there is a major shift happening here. I really feel like my prediction for 2024 is there is an influencer reckoning going to be happening soon. I think people have been moving away from the perfectly curated content for a while and more towards FaceTime content, which is something that maybe you've heard that term on TikTok. It's basically just TikTok content that feels like you're talking to your friends on FaceTime. That's been happening for a while, but I believe that pretty soon influencers are going to see actual consequences for not keeping up with that. I think they're going to see less engagement, less money coming in because they're not staying with the general understanding of like what we're looking for. I watched a really incredible video essay from a creator named Erica, and the title of her video is The Alix Earle Effect, the Psychological Appeal of the Relatable Influencer. It's so good. Please go watch, give her a subscribe. She's really amazing. I loved this video. She took a quote from a 2022 study, and I'm going to include that clip here.
Psychologically, the influential power of social media influencers comes from the emotional bond influencers build with their followers by satisfying followers' needs for ideality via displaying inspiration, relatedness via showcasing similarity and enjoyability, and competence via curating informative content.
Basically, this study showed that the emotional bond that is built between a viewer and their influencer of choice comes from ideality. There has to be a bit of aspiration, relatedness. We have to feel like it's attainable, that we relate to these experiences, and also competence, so that I can trust what you're saying and that you have some form of expertise. So those beautiful influencers with perfect skin, we're going to listen to them when they talk about like what skincare products they are using. And I've been talking to my friends about this concept just to spitball ideas and brainstorm. And what I also realized as I was brainstorming with my friends is that we actually don't care if an influencer or content creator is wealthy. That's not the part that bothers a viewer, although we are definitely moving away from the uber wealthy, like millionaire designer bag hauls. There's nothing attainable or relatable about that, even though a lot of people might find that aspirational. If you have money, that's okay. But what we're looking for is authenticity and self-awareness. The difference between saying your favorite pair of affordable jeans are $250, that doesn't feel relatable or authentic at all, because you're in a different world if you think $250 for jeans is affordable. There's a difference between that and saying, I've been making an effort to invest in clothing pieces that are going to last a long time. So these are pretty pricey, but I've really, really loved them for these reasons. They're $250. There is a huge difference between those two types of content. And I think that's self-awareness. I think it's very clear that there is a level of celebrity that people reach, influencers included, where their brains become freaking mashed potatoes. And I don't know if it's coming from being surrounded by yes men all the time, just being surrounded by their team, their family, their friends, like people invested in their happiness and maybe not necessarily telling them like the truth or keeping their feet on the ground. And maybe it's that, or maybe it comes from being inundated constantly with validation. That validation, by the way, is one hell of a drug. I'm not gonna lie. When I first started creating content, I had never experienced so much validation. People saying they liked my videos, but also saying that they liked me as a person and they loved my hair and they wanted to know all of these things about my life. That was absolutely intoxicating. I really wonder if there is like a crossroads. For me, I got to a point where it felt hollow. I felt like a parasocial relationship. I realized these people don't actually know who I am or the details of my life in a authentic way. So for me, that led me to a bit of an existential crisis where I had to figure out what I wanted to do with my content and make some shifts, which is a conversation for another video if you guys want to hear about that. But then there's also the other side where it becomes an addiction. So I don't have an answer for this. I don't know why influencers' brains have been liquefied. I don't know where exactly that's coming from. Probably a combination of a lot of things. But it reminds me of when Kylie Jenner made a couple videos putting on her makeup in her car. And it was so funny because it was like an alien trying to replicate like being a human. She saw other people on TikTok making videos in their car, putting on their makeup, and she was like, videos in car? Popular? If I make video in car, I'll be popular and relatable. She had no grasp of why that was relatable. Why did we like watching these videos of people in their car? We still do, because it feels spontaneous. It's usually someone coming home from their job or going from class to their second job and they're putting on their makeup in their car. Like, this is not glamorous, but it's real and it's authentic, and that's why we like it. And so when she made those videos, people were like, the hell are you doing? It's not the car that we find relatable. You sitting in your fancy sports car in your driveway just to put on a lip kit. Girl, it's not the same. To us, that seems really obvious. To them, I don't know. Nothing going on up there. I do think it's really interesting when we look back at influencer content. And for example, Emma Chamberlain, when she was in her YouTube heyday, that was at the peak of perfectly curated influencers. She was a breath of fresh air. Even if people maybe didn't jive with her personality, her content was revolutionary at the time. She was chaotic. She was over-caffeinated. Her editing was really silly. I think it was a bit of a prediction of how big TikTok was going to be. Everybody loved that. But just like everything else, people turned that into a formula, and now we've seen it everywhere, and people don't like seeing that either. Because I kind of think that we as humans like have a bit of a superpower, which is we can tell when someone is not being authentic. Of course, there are exceptions to this. People can be duped, and there are very manipulative people in the world. But I think we have an intuition, and we can kind of feel that. And because her content has been turned into a formula that brands, businesses, content content creators have tried to replicate, it doesn't hit the same. Like, it does not feel the same as when she was in her peak YouTube era. And so relatability versus authenticity. Obviously, there needs to be a sense for us as consumers of social media content, as the viewers, that there is some relatability. If we feel you are completely unrelatable, we're not going to watch that. I think that influencers have lost the plot on what matters, that relatability is the number one thing. But the problem is that they don't know what's relatable. The fact that Earle posted about her puke dress, that's what keeps me up at night. Why did she do that? Why did she think this is going to be relatable? I have to say, a side note, that I did not follow Alix. I just knew of her. I feel like everybody did. But the thing is I didn't realize she kind of rose to fame being relatable. She has a podcast named The Hot Mess Podcast. And I find that so fascinating when she is a very wealthy, well-off individual who literally looks like Malibu Barbie, model pretty, has risen to fame. Is that shocking? No, it's not shocking. I don't know if I can find anything about her that is necessarily relatable as a whole, as her like career, trajectory. Maybe we're getting to the point where people are like seeing that, and maybe they can't put their finger on it. Maybe the average viewer isn't going to spend so much time thinking about Earle's puke dress as I am, but they're gonna be like, ugh, and they're going to engage less. They're going to stop watching. They might even unfollow. That's going to happen. And I think it all comes down to the authenticity that we're missing. For so long, social media has been the place for us to curate the version of ourselves that we want the world to see. I did that. I started making YouTube videos in 2020. And personally, I think for a while, I was trying to be it all. I was trying to be a content creator and I was trying to be an influencer. And I do think that these are different things, but there's kind of like a Venn diagram. There's only so long you can be a content creator before your platform gets big enough that you obviously have influence. So for me, I felt like I was trying to do both. And it got to a point where it felt, I can just describe it as icky. I didn't like it. I could sense, without quite putting my finger on it, that things were shifting. Personally, I didn't want to watch content like that anymore. And so when I made content like that, that felt weird. And it was actually a TikTok comment that I got. I was making silly videos, but then I was like, this isn't really my brand. And this was back when my username was Your Voice Teacher. Has anybody followed me since the Your Voice Teacher days? Let me know in the comments. Someone commented and said, to me, YouTube is your main platform and TikTok and Instagram is just your social media. And I loved that. I felt like that comment gave me permission. Oh yeah, there are many facets of who I am. I can be myself over here. I don't have to follow a formula or an algorithm or any of that stuff. And so that's what I've done. It's interesting now as I'm doing all of this thinking about influencers to look back and realize I think I had that realization that things were shifting. And where my interest lies and why I even wanted to make this rambly video is how our consumption of influencer content is shifting. How it's shifting and also why. What are we looking for? Of course, people are going to talk about this and think about this in regards to how can I continue to monetize off of views? How can I shift my platform? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that because the truth is, for a lot of people, including myself, this is our job. Here we are. But I think that we are so tired of seeing things become brands and be formalized, that's not a word, but turned into a formula and turned into marketable step by step, what you need to do to be relatable. Because brands do that and they might follow every single checklist, every single step, and yet it's not the same. I also think that there is a aspect of breaking the fourth wall that needs to happen now. We know that this is your job. When you're selling a product, we know that. And I think brands are behind the times on this, to be honest. They want you to just put that it's a paid partnership, but they want you to just say, oh my God, I love this product. But I think I'm not alone in this. We see someone talk about a product and see it's paid. We automatically don't think that it's authentic. We just don't. We automatically get the ick, we scroll away. But someone who's guys, I literally just scored my dream partnership. I reached out to them because I love them so much. I was like, let me do an ad for you. I'm sat. I'm listening. I'm curious. I'm ready to purchase. There is this level of connection where I'm like, get that bag, girl. I love it. And it doesn't feel manipulative. It's very honest. It's more than just saying this video is sponsored. This is a topic for another video, but the difference between ads on YouTube and ads on social media, like Instagram and TikTok, so fascinating. I could talk about that all day. So if you guys want a video about that, let me know. But this topic is very complex, and I really think that I could talk about it forever, but I'll stop my rambly video now. If you liked this video, please drop a like. Let me know what you thought in the comments and consider subscribing. I would love to make more videos like this. So if there's anything you want me to chat about, let me know. Okay, bye.